Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've recovered from family reunion. It's Monica Reynolds and the great Brinley Tucker. How are you, Brinley, today?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Monica. I'm so excited to be here today and add value to our listeners and teach them how to have the perfect operations team and to build the perfect team.
That's so great. And, we get a lot of questions, and you and I did a breakout at family reunion. So if you were there, we really appreciate you being there. We had some great reviews, so we thank you for that. And today will be about 30 to 40 minutes. You can budget, and we're always available for questions also. We're going to get through the slides, and then we'll open it up for questions. And Holly from the Great Maps team runs our group coaching, and she will read us the questions, and then we'll go from there. And so I appreciate everyone being on the call on time. We'll get started in about 45 seconds. This call is going to be recorded, and you'll also get a copy of it also. So if we talk fast, listen fast, right, Brinley? There's nothing we can
Yes,
do about that. We got a lot to cover.
absolutely. And write down your questions. We love questions. Monica and I, one of the things that we love doing is we love adding value and teaching and using what we hear throughout the week, from our leaders, from Diana and Gary. We love to share that back with you. So if something's on your mind, most likely someone else has the same question. So don't be afraid to ask it. And don't worry, we won't tell anyone who you are. So it's all anonymous for my folks that might be a little bit scared about raising their hand. Yet we all grow together, right, Monica?
Absolutely. Okay, with that said, Miss Holly, please start our call today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Take Your Team to the Next Level, with your MAPS coaches, Brinley Tucker and Monica Reynolds. Please note this webinar is being recorded, and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coaches, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's FASTTRACK at kw.com. That's all for me. Monica and Brinley, take it away.
Okay, so I'm Monica Reynolds, and I'll get the call started here real quick. So the next slide you're going to see is get your team to think and act and care like you do. So if you're listening as a director of operations, that applies to you. If you're part of a team, that applies to you. And of course, if you're the rainmaker, that really applies to you. And we hear that so many times. How do I get my team to think and care like I do? And so in our program, we definitely take care of that, and we take care of that question and give you the solutions. Now, there are three components to an operations team in building a hub. You've got your listing manager, you've got your TC, and you've got your director of operations. And so with that said, they're all specialized, and so we go deep diving into each one of these positions. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the class coming up. So let's go to the next slide, 8 points to get your team to think and care like you do. So I'm going to take the first 4, and my co-presenter, the great Brinley, say hello to everyone, Brinley. We'll take the next 4 after that. Here we go, Brinley, right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, good. So number 1, you got to get the right people on board. So you do the KPA, you do the DISC. We've got a very specific profile for each one of those jobs. And you have to have the right person who has the shiny eyes that's excited about being a listing manager. And a listing manager is so different than a TC, and a TC is so different than a director of operations. Director of operations is different than a listing manager. Those profiles are not similar. And so those people are key people. And Gary Keller always says you invest in people. People is what drives your business. So number 2, you set expectations. So with a detailed job description, a 30, 60, 90, a performance evaluation at the end of each 30 days, this is how you build a great infrastructure to where you get people to think and care and act like you do. And then you share the motivation. And so you've got to have a culture. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have a belief system. You've got to have perspectives. You guys have heard this before, right? And most importantly, there's got to be buy-in to the goal. What's the goal? Why is our team all doing this? What is our culture in our office? And so we get real clear about that, because you want people to walk into that job every day and go, wow, I'm glad I'm here. This is going to be fun. This is exciting. We're going to help people with the American dream, buy and sell real estate. And then number 4, of course, invoke the team and MVVP BP, mission, value, vision, beliefs, and perspectives. We deep dive into that, and we show you how, as a team, you build that. As if you're listening this as a rainmaker, you don't write those out by yourself and say, here they are, everybody. It's like, you want a drink of water? Here's the fire hose, and jam it down their throat. No, you get everybody to buy in, and we give you very, very simple steps on how to achieve that and have everyone contribute to the MVVBP. Brindley, take it away.
Absolutely. So number 5 is to have a strategic plan to create buy-in. And what I love is that if you've done the first 4 at a really high level, getting team buy-in is easy. And we have found in the top teams that we work with that we've used to build the material around this course is that those teams that have a strong mission, vision, values, and beliefs, and then execute that at a high level to come up with strategic plans of 135s and 411s to support their vision and values are succeeding at a much higher level, which then turns into number 6. One of the biggest challenges that I see with teams is misalignment. And I speak personally, and I'm sure, Monica, you've led teams before as well, that I've had personal experience where as a leader, I've created misalignment in my organization because I'm not setting expectations, holding people accountable to those goals. And therefore, what happens is it becomes emotional and personal because we're no longer focused on the goal, we're focused on the person. And so what we do is we help you create those daily stand-ups, walk through those weekly 411s and what those look like so that you're always keeping it about the goal, which makes it very logical, non-emotional. And then all the people stuff is just having fun with your team, because when everyone's hitting our goals, everybody can have fun and everyone feels like they're winning. Which then takes us to number 7, how to hold quarterly team events. What are we doing to pour into our teams? I had a team once that they found out that they were planning these team events and no one was coming and they weren't really excited. And when they found out, it was because none of the team enjoyed the activities they were choosing. So are we asking and creating buy-in from the team members to do fun events that everybody enjoys, that they can bring their spouses to, and we can involve their families? And we're going to teach you how to set up those events, how to take care of those. And then lastly, and I believe this is one of the most important things, Monica, is the growth plan. Do you have growth plans for each of the individuals in your organization? There's a couple things that come to mind around this that Diana and Gary teach us. People may not remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And growth plans make people feel invested. Also, we're in the business of creating life by design. And if people have growth plans and are bought into the mission and not bought into the leader, then when the leader decides to step out of the business to go on to designing other businesses and other acquisitions, the people stay because they're committed to the vision. They're committed to the leader, yet they're committed to the vision, and the vision always remains the focal point. And growth plans will show them that you support their dedication and their commitment to the mission and to the vision. Monica, you have anything to add to those?
Yeah, so when you look at these 8 points to get your team to think and care like you do, look at these 8 points and then take a pen right now or write down. Number 1, get the right people on board. On a 1 to 10, where do you feel you're at? Set expectations, 1 to 10, where are you at? Do you share the motivation? Have you involved in the team in the MVVBP? Do you have a strategic plan to create team buy-in? How are you rating yourself on these? Obviously, you add them up, you should have a total score of 80, and whatever your score is, you know the drill, you know what you need to work on. Do you hold quarterly team meetings? Do you have a growth plan? Do you have stand-ups and weekly 411s? That's how you get your team to think and care like you do. Next slide, Ms. Holly. Go ahead,
Monica.
Brindley.
Yeah, I would just add one more thing to that, and you hit it, is that you can have the 411s and the growth plans. As a leader, are you following up on the execution of them? We write them at the beginning of the year, and yet what are we putting in place? And that's what we're going to help you, is what to put in place on a weekly basis to make sure that they're being followed up on.
Right. And a lot of that is going to be done by the Director of Operations. So when we deep dive, we'll show you how these work, and we'll show you the schedule of the listing manager, and we'll show you the schedule of the TC and of the Director of Operations, where all that fits in. Okay, so the 7 most important points in building an operations team on the next slide. So I'm going to cover these, and what's great is that Brinley's going to go into the 80-20 of an executive assistant, which gets a little confusing, but Brinley has that 100% down what that's supposed to be. So the most important parts in building a team is know your budget. Does it support another hire? So you need at least 3 months of salary set aside. So if you're going to pay someone, say, $2,500, you should have $7,500 set aside. You should never hire someone and say, well, we got to make the money and hope I can pay for them. They'll help me, then I can make more money. No, you've got to have a budget to support that hire. And then number 2, know your numbers. Do they support another hire? So we're going to go through the models, and we've got the new MREA models that we're going to go through. We're going to show you exactly what number you need to be at before you hire a buyer's agent, before you hire before you hire your second assistant, and then you hire a buyer's agent. We're going to give you that so that you can follow the models and not be too creative and make mistakes in your creativity. We hear so many creative plans, it's crazy. Number 3, have a detailed job description. Hey, make a note here. A job description is also a training checklist. And as they go through the training, you're checking it off. Okay, they're proficient on this, they're proficient on that. So we have the most comprehensive, detailed job descriptions for a listing manager, for a TC, and of course the Director of Operations. We also have a 30, 60, 90-day plan. You can't set someone up for success to be an integral, successful part of a team unless they have some things that they have to achieve by 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And this 30, 60, 90 is going to tell you, sometimes we think we hired the right person, we go through career visioning, and there's sometimes some people slip through that gauntlet that, oh, I'm not sure I hired the right person. That first 30 days, how far, if they're on track, if they're getting it, they're way off track, then you know you've got some challenges. You've really got to take another look at this. Number 5, make sure your compensation plan is ready. There's too many times that we hear great mega agents hire assistants and admins without really nailing down the compensation plan, without really making it clear that it's not a cul-de-sac salary. Here are some other opportunities on how you can support the team and how you can make extra money. We're going to go through that, and we're going to make sure that you absolutely are profitable. We understand the economic model. We're not violating that. So make sure your training program is in place. And so one of the things that I always say, if you're not investing in your people and their education, then you're going to be what I call stagnant. Everyone needs to be inspired. If you've gone to family reunion, you came back with your hair on fire, all excited. What if you'd taken your assistant? What if your assistant was there? And then they see and hear and feel all that energy that was so great at family reunion. So when you invest in your people, and then these calls are for agents, these calls are for your admin team, they're for anyone on your team. So you purchase the program and you all can listen to it. They're live calls. And we answer any of those questions that you have immediate. You don't need to email us or anything. Just ask us on the call. All right? So you got to make sure you've got training in place and that's comprehensive. And we give you some tips on how you train each one of those with videos and what's going to happen, and so that it really makes it streamlined. So you're never hostage to training and training and training over and over again. You've got some really good things in place. And of course, when you're building an operations team, you have to set up the time, like Brinley mentioned on the 411. So the worst thing we hear is an assistant or admin person says, well, I did my 411, but my agent, I emailed it to them. They said, okay, got it. And they never checked it. They never looked at it. I don't even know if they even read it. I bet I could write anything down there and they wouldn't even notice. How awful is that? How do you get your people to think and act like you do? Is that you acknowledge when they do these things. And so we'll go through how you read these 411s and empower people to step it up or what they're achieving and how to encourage them to do more. So anything I missed there before you take over the next slide, Brinley?
I actually did a great job. There's just a few things that I would add and reemphasize is, going back to your budget supporting a hire, we're going to actually also make sure that you're running a budget model per Gary Keller. Are you within your budget model in order to know what your accurate expenses are to hire that next hire? And then as far as the 30, 60, 90, we're going to go really deep with that. And I think something that's come out of our previous courses is that we're actually talking about a 30, 60, 90 that yields results. It's not just a training plan and goals around training. It's actually a 30, 60, 90 that simultaneously is moving the business forward. And then also a comp plan that's tied to profit. We get a lot of questions around that. And Monica and I have really done a lot of research on how to tie that compensation plan back into the business so that the net income is the primary focus of the entire team. And then, of course, you talked about it. It's leverage. It's all about leverage, right, Monica?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So next we're going to go into the 80-20. Now, some of you are probably scratching your head wondering, well, why do we have the 80-20 of an executive assistant? And I think it's important because we all know that, and that Gary has told us that when I am doing all that I can and I cannot do any more, I know I'm missing a relationship. And we all know for an agent, as he teaches us in Millionaire Real Estate Agent, is that the 5 things that are the agent's 20% are lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, scripts and role play, and going on appointments. So what happens is when they make that first hire, which is the executive assistant, excuse me, all of their 80% items, so all the things that are not included in those 5 big rocks, then become the executive assistant's 20%. Now, when an executive assistant first starts, they're going to have a pretty short 80% list. They're going to have their 5 big rocks for their 20%. Yet, whenever we come into a role new, our 80% list tends to be a little bit shorter. The longer that we progress in the role, that 80% list starts to grow and get longer and get longer. And what's going to happen is that we're going to get to a point where our 80% is compromising our 20%, meaning that we're doing our 80% at the expense of our 20%. And that's when we know it's time for a new relationship. It's time for us to take our 80% and turn that over to the next hire on the org chart. Now, according to model, which we're going to talk a lot about and dive deep into the new MREA models and what looking and being in model really looks like, is you're going to then hire your TC, your transaction coordinator. So your executive assistant is going to determine, okay, what do I now need to turn over to a transaction coordinator that's going to allow me to refocus on my 20%? And now the transaction coordinator, who's the next hire, starts to develop their 80-20. As their 80% grows, the longer they're in the role, then we hire that next hire. And now your executive assistant is moving up into a lead admin role, and eventually at level 5, leading up to that director of operations role. So what's great about this program is that we're going to take you through every single role on the operations side of the business and how it progresses from when you're a single agent all the way up to when you're a 7th level team. And all of that is going to be based and built upon our 80-20, our job descriptions, our 411s, our goals, our standards, in which we're going to go dive deep into what that should look like. Because, Monica, as you know, we've been on calls with Gary, and I had a call last night with Tony DeCello, and I've talked to Diana Kokoska. And right now, our focus has got to be the foundation of our business and our database. And having the right people on our team is crucial at this time in our industry. And so this course is going to make sure that you have that strong foundation that you need to survive this 4th industrial revolution that we're in. Right, Monica?
Yeah, I think what we have to really look at is this is business. We're just not realtors. And
Absolutely.
we're not admin just pushing paper. This is a team, and this is a big business. And what's so great about real estate and falling back in love again with real estate, like Gary talked about on stage, is that, the world's our oyster. There are so many opportunities to help people out there and have a successful career, and there's no limits to the income. And when you think about it and the contributions that the admin team can make, and we'll go through the compensation plans, that is an awesome, awesome opportunity to grow this business to the next level so easily. What else, Brinley?
I think that you're absolutely right. What are we, when we always ask ourselves when we're not in model or we've gotten too far out of model, whether it comes to our organizational model or our budget model, what's the reason? And 9 times out of 10, it's because we are in a realtor mindset instead of a business owner mindset. And I don't think it's just about the rainmaker being in that business owner mindset anymore. Everyone on the team has to be bought in to coming from the mindset of a business owner. We're all here to have an amazing, amazing business to fund a big life. And the more successful the business is, the more successful we all are as part of building that. So great points, Monica, great points.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide. What the roles begin to look like if you're building a team. So these calls that Brinley and I do that will start in April, we take a deep, deep dive into the listing manager. And each one of these categories that you see on the screen, we dive deep into that. But the first thing we do is we dive deep into the profile, the job description, the 30, 60, 90, and also we make sure that we give them all the scripts to be successful with the client, with the agent, and the other agent sometimes that is calling about questions on the listing. That listing manager is an awesome job in that it sets the expectations up for the rest of the team and everything that's going to happen next. So with that said, the transaction manager, the same thing. We do a job description, we get the perfect profile, we talk about the KPA, the DISC on each one of these categories. So we do deep, deep dives. So the listing manager has 6 calls that we go over. The transaction manager, there are 6 deep dive calls. And then ultimately, you're going to hire an operations manager, and we deep dive into that. So for example, an operations manager, they should be involved in helping and maybe doing the recruiting on everything, onboarding, offboarding, accountability, marketing, P&L, finances, and systems. And Brinley and I are on the same page. That operations manager is doing the training of the TC and the listing manager, so therefore they need to own that job too. So if a TC is gone, that they can jump into that job. Or the listing manager is on overwhelmed, 9 listings just came in over the weekend. Wow! Okay, they can jump in and help process those because we know how important that is. And yet that is a totally different profile from a TC to an operations manager. So we dive deep into that. And so what else would you add to this screen, Brinley?
I think, Monica, you really the most important thing is how deep we go into these roles and the clarity that we provide around what each role should look like and how we can use each role to build upon and build the strong foundation of the operations team to allow the production team and the sales agents to primarily focus on selling. I think too, what we call things a lot, we throw titles around a lot in our company: operations manager, director of operations, EA, and we're going to provide some real clarity on what the difference between all the alphabet soup is. What's the difference between an EA versus an operations manager versus a director of operations versus some of our organizations now have chief operating officers. So what's the difference between the 3 of them? We're also going to go deep into the volume that each person can handle and what that should look like for your team so that you're always hiring towards growth and you're not getting yourself caught into a constant whirlwind of overwhelm because we don't have enough leverage. Or on the other hand, identifying if you might be too admin heavy because your talent is not at capacity. So we're going to give you a lot of tips and tricks on how to measure that to make sure that you have the right people, not just the right people on the right bus, but you have the right people in the right seat on the bus. Because sometimes we may have an operations director that really just wants to be a TC. and they're just afraid to tell us. So we're going to go over all of that when we go deep into each of these roles. It's not just going to be an overview. We spend 6 weeks on each role, digging deep, answering questions, and going through the systems and models that set that role up for success. Right, Monica?
Absolutely. So let's go to the last slide here, and then we're going to open it up for questions real quick. So this is for basically everyone thinking about building a team, director of operations, of course, assistants who have graduated from the perfect real estate assistant. You got to have some great systems in place, because you'll get lost because we're going to assume some of these things are already in place. And assistants moving to other seats on the team. So you may have a TC that's moving to director of operations, or listing manager moving to TC. So it's people moving around, getting clarity on what they should be doing. And assistants working toward becoming a director of operations. So Holly, what's the first place that they can go to? What's the website that they can go to sign up? And then if they say FR100, they'll get $100 off. So what's the website, MAPS?
Yeah, so it's mapscoaching.com, and under the group section, you'll find the link to sign up. We will also be sending out that link with the discount code. The discount code is FR100 to sign up for that $100 off. So the email that you will receive with the recording after the program ends will have the link to register, as well as the discount code that you can use.
Okay, so let's take the next 5 to 10 minutes so we honor your time. What's the first question you have for Brinley and I?
So the first question, oh, go ahead, Holly.
Oh, sorry. The first question is, what is the size of a team that you would have all 3 managers?
Well, let's look at that. Okay, so when you have all 3, you're in to level 5, 6, 7, because you're not bringing on that director of operations until about level 5. Isn't that right, Brinley? I don't have it in front of me, but I believe
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
the first
Level 5 when you're getting ready for expansion.
There you go. So it's level 5. So you've got a pretty filled out team, and at level 5, you're definitely approaching that 200 plus. You got to you'd be doing that many transactions.
So an easy math, everything in real estate is a math problem. So the math problem that I would do is, we always want our goal to always be our listing goal as well, right, Monica? So when we say we want to do 300 units this year, then we're going to have 300 listings taken as our goal. So with a TC, they can typically handle about 20 to 25 closed units a month. A listing manager can handle about 20, depending on what they're doing. If they're doing a lot of heavy lifting, then it's probably more around the 15 mark. And so basically those 2 positions would be at full capacity at around 200 to 250 units.
Oh, you know what, Brinley? We forgot to mention these calls. The 6th call of the listing manager, the TC, and the director of operations, we interview the best in the country.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We just had last week a TC. She does 47 closings a month. Now, She does have an assistant helping her, so we layer that in. Brinley is correct. A TC is 25 to 27 they could do on their own. After that, the wheels start to come off, or there's not the highest level of customer service for repeat and referral business.
Absolutely. So if we're doing the math, then at about 250, your TC, your listing manager, are going to be at capacity. And yes, your EA or your lead admin at that point will be handling everything else marketing. So it's actually, you're not going to really have a director of operations until level 5, which is when you're getting set up for expansion. So your hub is probably doing more around the 300 to 400 mark. But again, it depends on your market. It depends on what services you're providing. And we go into all of that very deep and specific examples in the course.
Good. What's our next question, Holly?
That is the only one so far. If you have questions, please type them into your questions box now.
Okay, so here's the good news. It starts in April, and that's not that far away. So you've got a month to really put some of your systems into place, because the sooner you sign up and you think about what you have, then you start to compare where you're at. And so many of us said to us, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I went to this class. I thought I had this down, and yet you guys tweaked it, made me change it here. It made such a big difference in our business. So with that said, remember, whatever level you're at, this class is for you. We do want to make sure that you have systems in place, because we're going to assume that certain things like checklists and seller follow-up and things like that on showings, you've got those systems in place. We don't cover those things too much. We mention them, but we're assuming that you have all the things in place for that.
And we
Anything else, Brindley?
We do give you examples of those items. So if some of you are like, I don't know what to do, yes, we do give you examples, yet we're really taking you into a higher level and a deep dive. Now, I will say that Monica and I are really excited because we're doing rewrites on this program. There's been a lot of things that are changing with technology, and so we're going to be actually rewriting a lot of the program to keep us going forward movement with command. So we're really excited about that as well. And again, it's all about you and building a big business so that you can grow and meet your profit goals and meet your big life goals, right, Monica?
Exactly. All right. So thank you, Holly. Thank you, everyone. We respect your time. Please go to mapscoaching.com. Sign up for our class. Brindley and I love to talk to you. Again, these calls are live. We don't record these calls and you listen to them. We do live calls so you can interact with us, just like we had that great question. So we're here to bring clarity to your lives. We're here to take you to the next level. We so appreciate being everyone on
Monica,
the call.
We have one more question actually.
Okay,
Saved by the Bell. If you're an individual agent, what can we expect? You can expect the very same. We're going to teach you how to set the plan up for you to build the foundation that you need. This program is great for single agents because you're going to be 10 times, 100 times ahead of the game, because you're going to have all the information that you need to take the next right steps to building the perfect team.
Well, let me just dovetail on that. How important would it be to hear who is the perfect profile? What does that person look like for a director of operations? What does a listing manager's profile look like, job description, and also the 30, 60, 90 on each one of those positions? You don't need to think about this or reinvent the wheel. We've got the systems that absolutely work. I've been in real estate almost 40 years as a mega agent. Brindley's done over 2,000-3,000 transactions. So we've got this down. We don't give you theory. We give you what we know works, following the MRE models, of course, also. We don't deviate from those. All right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
We have another question.
Okay, this is the last one because we got to respect their time. Go ahead.
How many assistants can join on enrollment? It's per team. So you can have your entire team. You sign up with one email, yet you can have your entire team listen to the calls. And the calls are recorded.
So if somebody misses, you can go back and listen to it. However, we really like everyone to be on a live call. Great question. I appreciate that question. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on the call today. It was our privilege. Have a great, awesome week. Can't wait to talk to you next month on the calls. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Can't wait to talk to you soon.